We'll kick it off with the big news, Norman, regarding the gang war that has raged across Scotland and beyond. A wee bit behind that, a feud between former Union Bears capo turned gangland hood Ross McGill and Edinburgh cocaine kingpin Mark Richardson has seen 84 separate incidents, including numerous firebombings, machete assaults, and even 2 murders in Spain. We've now had a big update from Police Scotland, who say that the feud has come to an end after numerous arrests and a resolution of differences between rivals. They say the gang war is over, Norman. How big is this?
It's a big story, but I think news of the gang war being over is probably greatly exaggerated. I think there's still a lot of criminality that could come out of all this, but basically to give a kind of a summary of the information, the Chief Constable Joe Farrell submitted a report to the Scottish Police Authority, which is a kind of oversight body for Police Scotland. And in it, she provided details of the Operation Portalage, which was a police investigation into organised crime, in particular a violent feud between 2 crime factions from about March of last year into this year, really in the last 16 months or so. And this violence involved, as we've detailed in the Daily Record before, firebombings, machete attacks, and it appears to have been instigated by a Ross McGill, an associate of the Langs family, and the target was members of the rival Daniel family and associates of the Daniel family, including Mark Richardson, who you mentioned earlier, and associates and his associates. So there's a major police investigation. There's been 64 arrests, as you said, 84 separate incidents. We've seen quite a few criminal trials in the last 15 months arising out of that investigation, with many criminal figures being given quite lengthy jail terms of 8 and 9 years, quite substantial prison sentences. The bigger story here is that the violence we've seen in the last sort of 15, 16 months or so is linked to a longer term feud between the Langs and Daniel crime families, and that dates back more than 25 years. What the police appear to be saying is that the shorter term feud that can be instigated between McGill and Richardson and their various associates, and with the members of the Daniel family being targeted, that this feud or dispute appears to be brought to an end. To use the term that the police use, a resolution of differences between the two sort of organised, or between various organised crime groups. So I don't think we've seen, it's not the end of gangland violence in Glasgow. It's not necessarily an end to the Langs and Daniel feud that's been going on for more than 25 years now. But we would seem to be an end to this violence, almost a feud or dispute within a dispute between factions associated to McGill and factions associated to Richardson. Amidst all this, we had the brutal murder assassination of Eddie Langs Jr. and Ross Monaghan in a barn in Garolo in June last year. The police have always been at pains to point out that that particular murder wasn't in any, or double murder wasn't in any way linked to the Operation Portalage, which was looking at the more immediate violence, machete attacks and firebombings in Glasgow and Edinburgh. But obviously it was part of a wider story. We've also reported the fact that Stephen Langs himself was arrested in Bali, deported to Amsterdam or Holland, and subsequently extradited last month to Spain. So there's a lot of different factions to this, elements to this, but what I think we have seen is the impact of the police investigation, Operation Portalage, targeting this violence we've seen in the past 15 months. It's brought a lot of criminal figures to justice at different levels in the sort of criminal tree, and it certainly seemed to have brought an end to that particular spate of violence. The 2 elements were involved in the dispute seem to have settled the differences, but whether this leads to an end of gangland violence generally, we'll have to see.
Yeah, these things tend to be kind of on a knife edge usually when it comes to feuds, especially when you consider the likes of one party still in prison. Things can change. How long do you think, looking back, like how long do these things usually hold for?
My own view is, in covering it, the Langs Daniel feud is one that I'm not sure will ever end. It's been going on for so long now, and there's been so many different kind of violent incidents. We've had elements of both families have been murdered. I think we've seen more localised dispute, which has been played out in Edinburgh and Glasgow between two different factions linked to Ross McGill and Mark Richardson. I think we've seen an end to that particular spate of violence. Most of the machete attacks and firebombings were between March and September last year, which is alluded to in the Chief Constable's report. There was a bit of a resurgence in January and February this year, but really the police have put a bit of a lid on it. There's been other little kind of incidents, with attacks on properties, but by and large, Operation Portslade has been very successful in putting a lid on this violence and bringing a lot of people to justice. And I mean, I think we're talking about 64 arrests, so that's quite a lot of people taken out out of organised crime, albeit they'll be operating at different levels. But I don't think we've seen the end of the gangland violence.